And the moment he removes his hand, it will go off.
The 17th Executive Council of the Science Students Association of the University of the Gambia is currently observing its Science Week taking place at the theatre in Kanifing under the theme Providing Solutions to Societal Problems Through the Technological Integration in Physical and Natural Science. The Science Week enables science-related students to exhibit innovations through the use of science and technology. Usman A.N. Toure, president of the Science Students Association, said the team intends to solve societal problems through the sciences.
We science students deem it necessary to come up with this theme called providing solution to societal problem through the integration of physical and natural science. Fine. Now, this integration, we say we have in the natural sciences, you have the biology units, you have the physics unit, you have the chemistry unit now, and you have the mathematics unit. Now, we amalgamate this knowledge because the application of science breeds technology. Now, how do we employ this technology to be able to produce a very convincing and reasonable product? Is through the integration of these science courses, because we know that if you join the knowledge or combine the knowledge of biology and physics, you call it bioengineering. How do we solve the problem of some of the infection? For example, when you talk about viral infection, we use the idea of biology and physics. Now, when you join this knowledge, you call it bioengineering. Now, this bioengineering, we employ that knowledge to be able to solve some of the problem like viral infection.
Gracing students' activities for the first time since being Vice Chancellor of the University of the Gambia in January, Professor Edina Victor Mendes challenged science students to be more observant of their surroundings. Despite numerous challenges looming in the country's higher learning institution, Professor Mendes challenged students and lecturers to be innovative.
First is the learning experience of the students in the sciences. I am aware that there are challenges in our labs. Sometimes we have labs, the equipment and materials are not always there. But I want to challenge you, I want to challenge your lecturers. When we don't have materials, we don't have chemicals, I am constantly reminded that we should be innovative. Let us use what we have around us. So this is a challenge to your lecturers and to you as students. Let us be imaginative. Let us use what we have in our environment. The local materials, the local chemicals, the leaves that we have, our own environment.
Meanwhile, Zainab Bojang, a final year math student, laments the lack of support from people to fully implement the activities of the Students' Week.
There are lots of challenges that we face as students in the science area. When we say that science it's the backbone of every nation, indeed it is, but it comes with different challenges and different difficulties that as a student you need to stand up to. Because let's take an example for the Science Week. It's a big event. It's not an event that a student can just jump out there and make it happen or make it possible. That is, we knock doors, and in knocking doors we struggle. In knocking doors, most doors are not open to us. We struggle, sometimes we beg, we convince them. This has to come to a stop. That is, we have authorities, we have bodies out there that are there for tertiary education. We are the highest level of education in this country.
The first day of activities includes the biology, math, physics and chemistry students demonstrating exhibitions being taught in their various fields. The week-long event will be observed through exhibition, drama, quiz competition and sports day, among other activities. Students agreed that the Science Week is vital in their academic and practical aspects as science students of the country's highest learning institution.
So he just placed his hand on sensor 2, you will realize that the normal water will start pumping out. That's the normal water without anything like detergents and others.
Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Yahya Jammeh.
Every year, countries around the globe celebrate World Blood Donor Day. The event serves to raise awareness of the need for safe blood and the blood product, and to also thank voluntary unpaid blood donors for their life-saving gift of blood. This year, the Gambia Armed Forces marked the day by voluntarily donating blood to major health facilities across the country under the theme "Donating Blood is an Act of Solidarity. Join the efforts to save lives." Major General Yankuba Drame, Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, says the army is the single largest contributor in the country and has championed the cause of blood donation due to its utmost importance to the human life.
It is not by definition. The Gambia Armed Forces over the years, we've been the single largest blood donors in this country. We do so with conscience. We do so with a strong conviction that we owe it to every Gambians. Giving our blood is what we can give back to every Gambians. To say we can go that extra line to give your blood so that you can survive. More so, our mothers, our sisters, the pregnant women, our sons, those that are anemic, people with traumatized circumstances. We've always been willing to come out in a large numbers to give blood.
The army chief also praised the army for their act of humanity while describing their humanitarian gesture as the ultimate sacrifice they can give to their country. Safi Abia, Deputy Program Manager at National Blood Transfusion Services, indicates that timely access to safe blood and blood products is the indicator of health sector success and dwelled on the Army's rewarding efforts.
You're not only soldiers in barracks, no soldiers that defend our country or go and represent our country during wars and trying times, but you are soldiers that help in saving lives every day in our health facilities. You relentlessly give your blood, your time, anytime you're called, during rainy season or at the middle of nights, without expecting anything in return. We are always honored and always proud to say, yes, we are going to answer to the Gambia Armed Forces today, because they have always been lifesavers and always ready to give the gift of life that is blood.
According to her, blood donations have saved lives of women with bleeding disorders and pregnancy-related complications and children's complicated conditions, among others. Basiru Drame, CEO of Kanifing General Hospital, views voluntary blood donation as a way of enhancing solidarity and cohesion among social beings and spoke of the benefits of blood donation.
We must remember that donating just 1 pint of blood can save up to the life of 3 patients. In the Gambia, one of the main causes of maternal mortality is hemorrhage, that is bleeding during pregnancy, during childbirth, or postpartum period. This can be prevented when blood is already available. So Gambia Armed Forces coming out in their large numbers every year to voluntarily donate blood is indeed a step in the right direction.
Blood donation plays a vital role in saving lives. Over the years, the Gambia Armed Forces have always responded to calls for blood donations, as acknowledged by Boubacar Sen, administrator of the Kanifing General Hospital. He described the Gambia Armed Forces action as an honorable act of selflessness. World Blood Donor Day is celebrated on the 14th of June every year. This day focuses on drawing attention to the importance of donating blood. It was first initiated in 2004 by the World Health Organization. Moses Mendy, iAfrica News.
The National Environment Agency, GAM Petroleum, PURA, and National Disaster Management Agency committee members have embarked on an intensive cleanup exercise of the spillage. Dr. Baji explained that the effect of the oil spillage is not severe, as some of the birds spotted at the shore were able to fly despite their wings being tainted by the heavy oil. Speaking further, Dr. Baji explained that birds would not have flown if the oil effect was severe, adding that some mangroves were also covered by the heavy oil and the already established mangroves were also affected. He said the spillage came at a time of high tide, making the water push the oil out, minimizing the damages.
Well, as I said, we all see together, and then you realize marine oysters and other things actually it's a living thing. So when they are covered with oil, naturally they have a problem. And when you look at it on the livelihood, there are fishermen, there are other people who live, women who live on this. They depend on marine for their survival. So naturally that has an impact. But as I said last time, we need to have a livelihood assessment maybe in the future after the cleanup to ensure that what is the extent of the damage, and then we see what we can do. And those conclusions will also be forwarded to the polluter and see how they can compensate them accordingly.
Meanwhile, Lamin Komma, head of coastal and marine environment at the National Environmental Agency, revealed that the area is a sensitive ecological site as it's where oysters that are growing on the roots of the mangroves, and also an area where fish species are found and depends on ecosystem until they are of age and move to the ocean for their survival.
Oysters are filter feeders. Filter feeders because they get in water into their system, flush it and get the nutrients out of it. And now this the oil is stained on the prop roots of the mangroves as well as on the shells of the oysters. What is going to cause is there's going to be mortality. Mortality in such a way that the oysters, of course, there'll be drop in their production, and again there's going to be dieback on the mangrove ecosystem. The oysters, I said there is going to be a drop in the oysters, and this is going to have an impact on us in the sense that we'll not have the products that we get from the river.
Oyster collectors told iAfrica that many of their colleagues have stopped work since the oil spill occurred, as it has affected the mangrove swamps and made them dangerous to venture into. The women oyster collector took the opportunity to recount their current situation triggered by the over 70,000 liters of heavy oil leak into the river related to the recent operations of Gambia Petroleum. They said most women who engage in the oyster collections are now sitting at home, and that it is the same situation for oyster collectors in the riverine settlement of Madinari, Kunkujang, Jataya, Kubune, Kembuje, Bonto and Pirang. My name is Atwanyi Jata. The oil spill has affected our lives and livelihood. The oil is stuck on the oysters. We usually clean it with our sword and it make it black. I am a native of this village, Kunkujan Jataya, and I have been working here for the past 7 years, but right now we are not into any work here since this oil spill occurred. The spilled oil is all over the mangroves where oysters inhabit, making it dangerous to have access and collect oyster for sale. Words of Janke Jata. Atonye Jata and Ambias Sanyang explained that they have been collecting oysters for more than 20 years. The duo narrate that the oil spill has made them voluntarily cease their activities, and this will have adverse effect on their business and livelihood, since from the said business they derive a source of livelihood and pays the schools of their children. They call for oyster collectors to be compensated for the damage caused by the oil spill. For iAfrica News, I am Mafuji Sise.
Mali has become an epicenter of conflict and instability over the past decade. The war has now hit its 10-year mark this year. A military junta led by Colonel Assimi Goïta ousted an elected president in 2020, then overthrew civilian transitional leader the following year. Local insurgent groups and the Islamic State are active across central and northern Mali. Other rebel groups, communal militias, and criminal bands are also active. El Ghasim 1, Mali's special representative believes the numerous challenges in Mali are far from insurmountable despite the complexities in the country. The diplomat made the remark while speaking at a United Nations Security Council briefing.
While the challenges in Mali are numerous and complex, they are far from being insurmountable. If anything, the Malian people, as demonstrated during the Assises Nationales de la Refondation, harbor a deep aspiration for reform, transparent governance, and accountability. These aspirations and the forces driving them, including civil society, have shown great resilience and deserve the full support of the international community.
According to the Malian representative, there has been undeniable improvement in some areas and extremist groups have been weakened. But despite that, the groups still launch sporadic attacks against Malians and MINUSMA forces, as well as civilians suspected of collaborating with Malian forces. He noted that the security situation of his country is volatile and also honored the memory of peacekeepers who perished on the mission.
The security situation in Mali remains volatile and is of particular concern along the three-border area and in the center. Here, I would like to honor the memory of all the peacekeepers who have lost their lives since the inception of the mission. Their ultimate sacrifice illustrates the challenges and complexities we face and further underscores the need to ensure that the mission has the requisite capabilities, including armed and utility helicopters.
Mali's human rights situation deteriorated in 2020 amid ongoing abuses by armed Islamist groups, ethnic militias, and government security forces. 2 years on, the testimony remains the same. The prevailing security environment has compounded the humanitarian situation in the country. In 2020, 7.5 million persons will require humanitarian assistance compared to 5.9 million in 2021. The total number of internally displaced persons stands at 370,000, while more than 1.8 million people will be in immediate need of food assistance by August, the highest level recorded since 2014. El Gassim echoed the Secretary General's acknowledgement of the need for the United Nations multidimensional integrated stabilization mission continued presence and recommendation on extending its mandate for another year. The Mali war sparked in 2012 and has since caused a huge life loss and civilian displacement, with human rights abuses persistent in the country. Moses Mendy, iAfrica News.
The world is grappling with uncertainty and crisis on multiple fronts. The war in Ukraine and inherent international security crisis that comes with it. The health, economic, environmental and geopolitical crisis. Members of the WTO thought that this is a time to demonstrate that multilateralism works, a time to demonstrate that the WTO can deliver for the international community and the people they serve. Nearly 5 years have passed since the last ministerial conference. While many members of the WTO took some important steps towards using trade as a vehicle for women economic empowerment, the meeting didn't really deliver. Although ministers did commit to completing the fisheries subsides negotiations, they could not even agree on reaffirming the importance of the rules-based multilateral trading system and the WTO's founding principles. A trust deficit dating back on the breakdown of the Doha round and even before it took its toll. Members across the globe are once again gathered in Geneva to see ways of resolving economic crisis that the world is faced with. Speaking at this opening ceremony on Sunday, WTO's Director General, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, highlighted that the WTO has faced a lot of negativity over the past years.
The negativism is compounded by the negative advocacy of some think tanks and civil society groups here in Geneva and elsewhere who believe the WTO is not working for people. This is, of course, not true, although we've not been able to clearly demonstrate it. But it worsens the trust deficit that I've noticed in these past 15 months. Despite this, ambassadors have been working very hard, trying to overcome, to work hard together, and working to deliver. I want to say a heartfelt thank you to all the ambassadors in Geneva.
Dr. Kwenjo Iwale said that the challenges they are currently confronting are also opportunities.
Between now and Wednesday, we have a chance to show the world that the WTO can step up to the plate, that we can act to correct these institutions' problems, to reform and modernize it, that we can strike agreements in Geneva that will enhance the ability of all members to respond to people's aspirations at home. Aspirations for food, for health, for security, for better jobs, higher living standards and sustainable environment on land, in the oceans, and in our atmosphere.
MC12 was originally scheduled to take place in June 2020 in Nur Sultan, Kazakhstan, but was postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In April 2021, members agreed that MC12 would take place in Geneva from 30th November to 3rd December. However, an outbreak of a new highly transmissible strain of the COVID-19 virus and resulting travel restrictions led to a General Council decision on 26 November 2021 to postpone MC12 indefinitely. Reporting for Eyeafrica TV at ongoing WTO Ministerial Conference in Geneva, I am Binti Jallo.
However, the villagers of Pirang have complained that the oil spillage has sent the fishes away from being accessed and their nets tainted with the black oil. Sajo Bojang is the chairman of the Pirang Fishermen Association. He is worried that the spillage can be the root cause of the end of fishing in their community, a source of livelihood to many in Pirang and its satellite communities. My name is Sajo Bojang. I am the chairman of the Pirang Fishing Association and the school development chairman, and I also work as a fisherman. We work to the oil spillage, and this has made our fishing very difficult as our nets were tainted and we cannot remove them with all our efforts. This has made many fishermen not embark on fishing because we are not getting fish anymore. Spillage can kill the fish and can bring problem to the industry and the mangroves and our fishing business. Kikuta Sane is a fisherman residing in Pirang who is also worried about them losing their customers.
It was 1992.
I have been a fisherman since 1992, but I have never seen such an oil spillage in our river. Upon seeing the spillage, I urge my community to contact the fisheries to indicate to them that there is a problem in our sea. We are seeing something in the river that we are not used to seeing. But all of a sudden, we hear it over the media that there is an oil spillage that occurred in Mandinaring Depot, about so many liters. But this spillage has affected our boats, fishing nets, and even our hands looking at it. This is a witness to my testimony that oil spillage has reached our community and caused so much havoc to us and our livelihood. As alluded by the previous speaker, this can affect not only our fishing but the serums, and most of our customers are from the restaurants and beaches, and hearing the news that our community is affected by the spillage can bring a problem to our business.
You see this?
Suleiman Keta underscored that the spillage did not find him in the Pirang community, but upon return he found out that the rope that he ties his boat all turns black and thought that someone had poured chemical on it to spoil it, but little did he knew that it was the spillage. Omar Bojang, chairman of Pirang Village Development Committee, has this to say.
I'm aware of the spillage that happened at Mandinaring, that spread over to other areas until Pirang, here, our community.
For iAfrica News, I am Mafuyi Sise.
Following the departure of former President Jammeh in 2017, the Barrow government swiftly changed the NIA name to SIS due to the psychological connotation it draws to the minds of Gambians, especially victims of Jammeh's ruthless hit squad widely recognized as junglers during his dictatorial rule. The unit has been attributed with numerous rights violations and abuses meted out on citizens with impunity in the former regime. But since the advent of a new government, the country's intelligence service has experienced reforms that reshaped its direction. Addressing a press conference, Alhaji Usman Sow, Director General of SIS, explained that the State Intelligence Service has now shifted focus to its core mandate of collection, analysis, and dissemination of intelligence on previous, current, and potential emerging situations. He also dwells on the evolution over the 5 years period.
SIS is much stronger, much organized, and better poised today than it was 5 years ago. So the institutional strengthening to have the right platform and posture to meet our national security mandate has been greatly improved over these past 5 years. And another area we also focus on is the improvement in the quality of our product. And when we say the quality of our product, these are the reports we do, the summaries we prepare, the assessments we conduct, and the advice we give. I think 5 years on, we want to say in this regard, the credibility of our product has greatly improved. Our reports are much sought after and much valued by our consumers. The credibility, which is very critical, of our product have hugely improved.
Whilst evaluating the strides achieved in the past years, DG Sow further indicates that the intelligence service is now more organized and focused on the mission ahead. The once most feared security service in the country is now enjoying a much better improved relations with the other service units and citizens. Following the revamp of the service in 2017, a slogan that states "No more excesses" followed, and 5 years on, there is no stain on the service name as it continues its endeavors of national development.
But when we came, must I say this, and I think some of the media can recall this, we have said, no more excesses. Yes. That was more or less our hashtag. If you like a social media name, we said no more excesses. And this was not only for the public, it was for our own selves. Because we know the excesses has got us in the wrong scheme of things. So we assign ourselves to say no more excesses. And over these 5 years, humbly, I wish to report that we've not only cut on these excesses, but we've cut off the excesses. And I repeat.
With cybercrime on the increase, the SIS is setting grounds to tackle cyber attacks and its adverse effects. Authorities at the State Intelligence Service has also invested time, resources, and personnel to improve its capacity to generate more knowledge as the service requires critical focus and intellectual analysis.
2017 to now, I think we have dedicated, as the Director of Reforms has indicated, he's also Special Assistant in the Office of the DG, we have dedicated conscious efforts to improve the capacity of the SIS personnel and across all status, from the lowest level to the DG's level. Education for all, capacity building for all, but also relevant capacity building.
According to Mr. Sow, the conduct of the service in the past 5 years is a testimony of its transition from a state security agency to a security institution that registers interest in the rain pattern of the country, considering that lack of rain affects agriculture, which eventually affects lives and livelihoods. He also said his unit intends to bring security from the backwaters to the mainstream due to its importance to national development. Unlike in the past, the service now has a directorate of reforms and legal reforms to provide advice on its operational compliance. Moses Mendy, iAfrica News.
The Investment Forum and Business Margin session held at a conference hall in Bigelow brought together business entrepreneurs and investors. The Turkish investment mission team includes GIV chairman and founder governor, Secretary Generals of Business Association, as well as prominent Turkish business personnel. GIPA will present to the mission team an investment opportunity in the country that will enable Gambian businesses to harness possible partnership and investment into the country. Mr. Usaini Senghor, the CEO of GIPA, said the forum is in line with GIPA's mandate to promote and export and investment opportunities in the country.
Mr. Mustafa Njai, Managing Director and CEO of TAF Africa Global, distinguished personalities present here, ladies and gentlemen, and the media, good morning to you all. GIPA welcomes the GIV Turkey Investment Mission, led by His Excellency Rajib Ahmed, that is the district governor of Turkey to the Gambia, and the chairman, Mr. Mahbet, as well as the delegations. GIPA, in collaborations with GIV, are hosting today's investment mission from Turkey on a 5-day investment explorations in the Gambia. You're invited here today to join us on this investment forum and business matching network sessions. In exercise of GIPA's mandate, the agency is today answerable to 2 deliverables of the nation's investment and export promotion, enterprise support, and better business environment. GIPA being the gateway for investors, we will continue to support partners to investors, exporters, and entrepreneurs. We have instituted one of the most formidable entrepreneurship training programs in the country, the Empatech program. Today, we have so many offshoots of these programs in the country, particularly our entrepreneurship training workshops. We hope to migrate from providing training to financing of entrepreneurs under our legally mandated Enterprise Development Fund, whose trustees has been established, and we are looking for seed money to kickstart financing entrepreneurs. We look forward to partnering with GIV to bring about the realization of this mission. GIPA will collaborate and partner with GIV Entrepreneurial Businessmen Foundation, both in the Gambia and in Turkey, to facilitate the development of our entrepreneurship and investment landscapes. This is a shared mission between GIPA and GIV. GIV is highly active in supporting entrepreneurships and access to finance, which GIPA as an institute want to leverage upon. GIPA again welcomes GIV to establish in the Gambia and have an official working relationship with the government through GIPA. The theme for the forum, Business Opportunities for Inclusive Growth, is all about linking businesses together for a shared prosperity.
The chairman of Turkish Entrepreneurs Investment Foundation assured mutually beneficial business initiative for the 2 countries.
Gambia can be a good hub for Turkish companies to invest. You have young generation people, thousands of, 100,000s of people. You have, if we can train them, they can be entrepreneurs, they can be good engineers and managers and managements, etc. I mean, we can develop a good relation with both countries, because both we have advantages to comply each other, okay? Turkey and Gambia, I believe, they really comply each other.
The Gambia Investment and Export Promotion Agency, GIPA,
is the national agency responsible for the promoting and facilitating private sector's investment into the Gambia. The agency aims to unite Gambian stakeholders and create the right climate to attract investment into the country. In exercise of its mandate, the agency is today answerable to deliverable of the nation's investment and exploration, enterprise support, and better business environment. For Iyeafrica News, ICTBI Kujabi.
Jah Oil and Atlas are both oil marketing companies operating in the Gambia who import and distribute petroleum products in the country. They source their products from international traders like Trafigura, PSTV and others. The petroleum products were stored at Gambia Petroleum. Around October 2021, the Gambia was hit by fuel shortage for some weeks because products were not available at the Gambia Petroleum depot. This forced OMCs to source their fuel through Senegal because Gambia Petroleum had no products to release to them. Both witnesses agree with lawyer Menen that the price structure the government introduced for October 2021 through a press release dated 30th September 2021 without consulting them was one of the reasons for the oil shortage. After the publication of the price structure, all oil marketing companies except one signed up to a letter that they sent to the government warning them of the consequences of the new price structure. In the letter, the OMCs warned that the new price structure will hurt the supply chain of oil and gas. Durunjai said he was working with Atlas for over 25 years and he is the current operation manager. He said he was keeping daily, weekly and monthly stock information of Atlas. He also explained that in October 2021, he was part of the investigators who checked the tanks at Gambia Petroleum, adding that they discovered that there was no physical stock and his book records show that Atlas had stock at Gambia Petroleum, but this stock was not there. According to him, PMS, Ago and Jet Oil were almost at zero level. Under cross-examination, lawyer Menen informed Njai that the stock information was in evidence and told him that the stock level was not at zero, but Mr. Njai maintained that the stock record before the court was right. Lawyer Menen further put to him that the stock level at the time was 90,507 liters for gas oil and PMS or gas oil 1,388,733 liters. But the witness still reiterated that his previous answer, saying these figures are right. I agree with you, he said. The witness said Atlas had a negative balance as of September 2021, which he said was due to overshooting at the time of loading. Lawyer Menen told him that there were some times when Atlas will have negative balance for Ago and PMS that was not a result of overshooting, but the witness said he was not too sure about that. He also told him that in July 2019, during the time of Mohamed Basi, Atlas was on a negative balance for Ago 698,842 liters and PMS 446,615 liters, but the witness said he is not aware of that. A copy of an electronic mail addressed to Atlas was tendered in court by lawyer Menen and admitted as evidence. The email was sent by Mohamed Basi to one Fadunjai, the finance director at Atlas, and the witness was copied in the email. Jah Oil General Manager Momodu Hydra, in his testimony as the 10th prosecution witness, also said at the time of the fuel crisis in the country, Jah Oil had 1,800,000 liters of stock of diesel at the Gambia Petroleum depot. Equally, he said Jah Oil had 60,000 liters of petrol in the negative balance. Your company was lifting in the negative balance, lawyer Menen asked. Yes, the witness answered. The witness said the issue of lifting in the positive and negative is a normal practice that obtained in their industry, adding it has been a norm since the inception of Gambia Petroleum. He explained that Gambia Petroleum had limited storage capacity to cater for what the oil marketing companies need. He said oil companies take products and replenish them when their products arrive. He said Gambia Petroleum allow companies to uplift products and repay when their products arrive to keep the OMCs in business. There is no OMC that has never been in the negative balance. You have to borrow so that you keep your business running. When your products arrive, you have to replenish what you took, the witness said. Hydra said the issue of taking in the negative keeps the small OMCs in the business. The business would have been untenable if big oil marketing companies like Jar Oil were allowed to fill up the tanks at the depot, and smaller companies wouldn't have space and would have asked to wait until their products arrive. The absence of negative balance will give an advantage to some companies over others, Hydra said. He said the OMCs are now dealing directly and borrowing from each other. He added that currently Jar Oil lends some OMCs over 500,000 liters, which will be refunded once their products arrive. The witness said Jar Oil could not access their 1,800,000 liters of diesel at the time of the shortage, but they were subsequently refunded when the situation became stable at the depot. Under cross-examination by lawyer Menon, the witness said the practice of lifting products on a negative balance is pretty normal, and once your products come, you will deduct what you took and the rest becomes yours. As OMCs, we are regular importers, and once the cargo comes, they subtract it, he said. On the government's price structure, Hydra said it was not favorable to the OMCs because they cannot operate their business at a loss. He told the court that OMCs were displeased with the price structure, adding it came when the government decided to tamper with certain parameters in the price structure. He said the two protest letters the OMCs wrote to the government warned it of the destructive consequences of the price structure on the supply chain. Many of the OMCs were reluctant to import because you will start operating at a loss. We were nervous because they touch on the premium. We do not want to bring product and run at a loss, Hydra said. For Eyeafrica News, I am Mafuji Sise.
Plastic pollution has become one of the world's most pressing environmental issues, as rapidly increasing production of disposable plastic products has overwhelmed the ability to deal with them. Plastic pollution is most visible in developing Asia and African nations, where garbage collection systems are often insufficient. But the developed world, especially in countries with low recycling rates, are also having trouble in properly collecting discarded plastics. Plastic trash has become so ubiquitous that it has prompted efforts to write a global treaty negotiated by the United Nations. As the WTO is currently intensifying discussions on the issues affecting the world, its Deputy Director General, Santing Chang, said they are putting in efforts to see that the situation is addressed.
I start by recalling that on 15 December last year, 3 separate environmental initiatives launched their ministerial statements, even though at the time we had to postpone MC12 due to the COVID-19. Participants decided to go ahead and adopt their statement. The hard work had been done, and the issues at stake were too important to let any time pass by. That was a historical moment for trade and the environment at the WTO. It reflects the increased determination of members to harness trade in support of environmental sustainability, to address plastic pollution, and to tackle harmful substances, especially those for fossil fuel.
Australian Ambassador George Mina highlighted the importance of discussing environmental issues.
Can I say we are all aware in our daily lives of the scourge of plastic pollution. We know that 8 million pieces of plastic find their way into the ocean every single day. So we're talking about a very significant problem. We can't overstate the size of that problem. We have welcomed the big breakthrough at the United Nations Environment Assembly on the resolution for working towards an internationally binding agreement. And of course we know that global trade plays a very important part in the life cycle of plastics. Trade in plastics itself accounts for 5% of the value of global trade. So we've got to play our role. The WTO, the trading system, must play its role in the resolution of the problem.
The ambassador of China, Xinjiang Li, reaffirms China's commitment in helping the world to be free from plastic pollution.
China is ready to work with other members to share experience explore effective models, and jointly promote global efforts to curb plastic pollution. China is honored to have participated in organizing the WTO dialogue on plastic pollution since 2019. We greatly commend the active participation, support, and interaction of the co-sponsors, all interested WTO members and stakeholders. Over the past 2.5 years, the openness, inclusiveness, enthusiasm, solidarity, and mutual trust demonstrated by all participators have been impressive.
Millions of animals are killed by plastic every year, from birds to fish to other marine organisms. Nearly 700 species, including endangered ones, are known to have been affected by plastics. Nearly every species of seabird eats plastic. Reporting for Eyeafrica TV from the 12th Ministerial Conference in Geneva, Binta Jallow.
The cohort 5 students of National Institute for Security Studies of Nigeria study tour in the Gambia is born out of collaboration between SIS Gambia and the NIS. The tour is organized under the theme Global Climate Change Prospects and Priorities for Economic Development and Conflict Resolution. It is expected to provoke productive discussions on climate change and conflict resolution. A.S. Adeleke FSI Daga MNI, Commandant of National Institute for Security Studies of Nigeria, expressed delight in being in the Gambia and explained that security management is a collective responsibility and development cannot be achieved in the absence of proper national security.
The management of security of any nation is a collaborative effort. All of us must be aware that security is central to development. Without development, without security, there can be development. The people, administrators, captains of industry, and in fact, the press must support the DGSIS to ensure peace and stability in the Gambia.
He also called for action to tackle the impact of climate change that is currently being felt in the country. Alhaji Osman Sow, Director General of SIS, indicated that the SIS is metamorphosing from a state-centric institute to a human security, and therefore climate change subject falls within their domain.
The reference point is moving from state security, state-focused security, state-centric security, to human security. And there is no saying that climate change and its impact and its effect is indeed causing huge challenges to lives and livelihoods. And therefore, if the reference point is now human security, what better topic to discuss now than climate change and its implications for lives and livelihood.
He said every futuristic security service must look at sustainable development by catering for the present without compromising future needs. Major General Mamat Ocham, Deputy Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, highlighted how climate change can affect internal and external security environment.
Because climate affects the livelihood of people, and livelihood will also affect their political behaviors, which in turn will affect the internal and the external security environment. Being a small resource-scarce country with no known natural resources that could be harnessed for economic and national development, the Gambia had always been challenged in terms of how to provide the required material, goods, and services for the people so that, we can live a decent life and at the same time move on with our national aspirations.
He took the audience through the memory lane, citing the 1981 coup attempt, 1994 coup, and 2016 political impasse as instances that compound the national security challenges and revealed that the armed forces and its governance laws reformation is ongoing. He further explained that the army will also be reoriented to comprehend its constitutional mandate. The 26-member delegation will have a week-long stay in the Gambia, wherein climate change presentation by experts and visits to climate change sites will be conducted. Established in 1999, the NIS is the first and foremost intelligence security training institute in Nigeria. It provides top-level security to efficiently and effectively deal with the plethora of security challenges in a democratic dispensation. The occasion was jointly organized by the Armed Forces and Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. Moses Mendy, iAfrica News.
On the cross-examination, lawyer Christopher Emmanuel Menen ordered for the witness to be shown Exhibit P95, which is the throughput agreement between Petrogas and Gambia Petroleum, which the witness identified as correct, but said both Star Oil Mali and Star Oil Gambia are not parties to Exhibit P95 agreement. Mr. Barrow told the court that the contract is the basis of the relationship between Petrogas and Gambia Petroleum, and if any of them act contrary to the agreement, it will mean a breach of the contract. According to Mr. Barrow, despite being a member of the board of directors, he does not know that the other oil marketing companies have throughput agreement with Gambia Petroleum. At this point, lawyer Christopher Menen put to the witness that he wants the court to believe that he does not know all the other OMCs had throughput agreement with Gambia Petroleum as a board member, but Mr. Barrow said he assumed they had a throughput agreement, but he has never seen it, saying that is the normal practice to have a throughput agreement with the Gambia Petroleum. The 11th prosecution witness told the crowded court that Exhibit P95 has indicated that to uplift on negative balance for operational reason, it has to take 3 days or a month before the closure of the account. Mr. Barrow agreed that Petrogas has failed to deliver on this promise by failing to replenish the Gambia Petroleum, who had the right to stop or to authorize legal action because of the breach of contract. The witness affirmed that Petrogas was only able to clear its negative sometime in October 2021, and sometimes it uplifts products even on a negative balance. The witness also confirmed that he had requested Gambia Petroleum to allow Petrogas to uplift product on negative, adding that at some point the former general manager Yahya Jammeh was worried about the negative that was owed to Petrogas, and he would not allow Petrogas to load or operate. Mr. Barrow said he can remember a time when he reached out to the former general manager Yahya Jammeh, informing him that the negative is ascertained and they were taking up the liability, and once Star Oil takes ownership of the Petrogas, they will clear all the negative. He reiterated that he reached out to the former general manager Jammeh through phone call, WhatsApp or by email, adding that at this point the Petrogas were not allowed to upload products because of the negative balance. Barrow said it is possible that in July, Petrogas was on negative balance when jet fuel was 417.66 liters, whilst PMS was 1071 liters and was on negative balance for August 2021, up to 732/772 for jet fuel. However, the email written to Abdurrahman Barrow by the second accused person, Lamin Gassama, is admitted as Defense Exhibit 25. For iAfrica News, I am Mafuji Sise.
Vehicles, you are giving it to parliamentarians. Where is the source? The parliament